Hello and a very warm welcome. You are watching Gravitas. I am Molly Gambhir and we are starting off with some news just coming in. Huge developments. The US Supreme Court ruling against Trump's global tariffs. That's a big development with far-reaching implications coming in. Let's just tell you more about what the top court has said at this point, what's known. The top court saying tariffs were enacted under a federal law meant for national emergencies. More than $175 billion in US tariff collections are at risk of having to be refunded. Importers expected to scramble for refunds from the US Customs and Border Protection Agency on import duties paid over the past year. In fact, these tariffs, which were enacted under the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, remember, prompted extensive litigation and debate over whether a president can actually levy broad import duties without explicit congressional authorization. And Trump has touted the revenue generated by all of his tariffs, estimated by the Congressional Budget Office at about $300 billion annually. $300 billion annually over the next decade. But the estimates show that a substantial amount may need to be refunded if the court rules against Trump. Remember, that was the other point as well. Now, after the Supreme Court ruling now, refunds of $175 billion would exceed the combined fiscal 2025 outlays from the Department of Transportation at $127.6 billion and the Department of Justice at $44.9 billion. So those are what the numbers are looking like right now. Remember, this news coming in just a short while back. So we are awaiting further reactions. Of course, this is a ruling that has been highly anticipated also because of the kind of impact, the kind of implications it would carry. All right, let's first go straight across to our correspondent, Susan Teherani, who's joining us on the broadcast for more on this. Susan, first up, tell us more about what the court has said and any initial reactions that you're gathering at this point.
Right. So we do know that the courts have decided to shut down President Trump's actions regarding tariffs under the current framework and rubric that it was. Basically, what we're reading so far, there are many, many pages, is that the court wasn't buying the fact that these tariffs are for the benefit of the country on the one hand under that rubric and under that law that it was, and also that it's basically a tax on the American people. The word tax continuously is prevalent in each of the opinions from these justices, really indicating that ultimately this was up to Congress if they were going to be doing this, the administration doing this. It had to go into Congress and change tax laws. But nonetheless, we are getting reactions right now. There are some Democrats, of course, on Capitol Hill who are celebrating this. They're saying that it's to the benefit of the American public and prices are going to come down. Of course, as I mentioned before, during our previous podcast, this is just the beginning of the road for the Trump administration. They believe that they have other tools in their toolbox to continue with these tariffs. Now, how long this litigation is going to take, could take months, it could take years. We're also now hearing from different segments and business segments. For example, businesses called, it's a coalition of businesses called We Pay the Tariffs, have really for a long time fought President Trump's duties. They're now saying that the administration's only responsible course of action is to establish a fast, efficient, and automatic refund process and return these tariffs. But that's the million-dollar question on whether or not the administration has the tools in its toolbox to not do refunds and then perhaps maybe stop the tariffs from here on forward. That's a big question as well. President Trump not only speaking in Florida on Wednesday, he boasted about the tariffs and how it has bought so much money, hundreds of billions in revenues for the American people and the economy. But yesterday, when he was also in the U.S. state of Georgia, you could see him visibly shaken, saying that the Supreme Court cannot shut down these tariffs, sort of indicating that he knew what was about to come. And then we also heard from Kevin Hassett, his administration official, on the economy. He says that we anticipated this and we have other plans of action as well. I think what was very interesting is that immediately after this opinion and this case was out in the open, Wall Street really reacted positively, with the Dow and the S&P 500 really going up.
Yes. In fact, we are getting updates on that front itself, Susan. As you just pointed out, the markets are reacting positively. Wall Street has reacted positively after the top court has struck down Trump's tariffs. In fact, Wall Street responded quickly and positively to the ruling. And here's how the main indices are performing as of now. Let's just take a quick stock of what things are looking like on the markets front. The S&P 500 index up 0.45%. Dow Jones, meanwhile, up 0.07%. NASDAQ, 0.42%. So the markets are swiftly reacting as anticipated. This is a move that is going to have far-reaching implications. So a lot that remains to be discussed at this point, including what things would look like from here onwards. And for that, let's get in further reactions coming in from Mark Brolin, geoeconomic and geopolitical strategist and author, with us on the broadcast. We'll also get in further updates from Susan in just a bit. But coming to you first, Mark, I want to understand from you your first reaction of this far-reaching. The implications, of course, will be discussed, but the ruling itself, your reaction to that?
Well, I think it's both predictable and less predictable. Betting markets have been anticipating this, but still, given that it goes across what Trump wants, it's a surprise in that sense. So White House will be fuming, but I still think in the big scheme of things, this will be a great positive. It will be positive for the free trade across the world, of course, but this also normalizes the relationship between the White House and Congress. So going back to how it usually is the case, that the White House suggests and then the Congress decides. And I think lots of the Republicans, they will have to pretend they're upset, but I think many Congress Republicans will be secretly happy about this too, because it makes them more powerful. And it also makes perhaps the Republican Party come across as more serious and responsible going forward. Because I think many in the public, even within the MAGA movement, have not really liked all these executive orders, including the tariff executive orders.
Right, and how the political reactions play out, especially coming in from the US president himself, remains to be seen. But Mark, if you can just lay out for our viewers what happens from here onwards, procedurally speaking.
Well, there will be lots of huffing and puffing, of course, and the Trump administration, they will hit back at this and do all sorts of things the legal way, but probably not. They will probably not get so. They will try to save face that way. I'm not sure things will change from this. This is probably going to stand, and then there will be lots of discussions about the rebates if the money has to be paid back. So that will be a big story for a long time as well. But besides that, this certainly diminishes Team Trump in a way. I think we can see even before the Greenland episode, that was sort of a turning point. His power has now peaked. He did have more power than presidents usually had because of his style in a way. So he's not a lame duck yet. He might be after the November election, but his peak power is behind him. And from now on, he will not be taken as seriously. People already are not as afraid of him, even within his own party, as they have been in the past. So this is just like the Greenland setback for him. This is a setback as well.
Indeed, a lot to be looked at in terms of what this really means for the US president himself, given the kind of chest thumping that has been going on specifically about the tariffs and in a way how it has been used to arm twist several governments around the world. Going back across to Susan quickly, Susan, just help us piece together what has unfolded since the ruling came in, the kind of sentiment that you're picking up, and what kind of timeline we're looking at right now, also when it comes to the reactions coming in from the White House.
So a lot of it will depend on Congress, whether Congress, which is a Republican majority, both houses will decide to step in and try to bail the president out one way or the other. If not, this is going to be a very long litigation process with the Trump administration and the courts, months, if not years. Remember, the United States has collected over $200 billion in new tariffs since early 2025. And while tariffs do target foreign goods, studies indicate that 90 to 96% of those costs are absorbed by U.S. importers and businesses and consumers, and not necessarily foreign exporters. So despite the fact that the economy is doing very well right now, it remains to be seen, which direction the government wants to go on the one hand. And on the other hand, like I mentioned, does Congress want to step in, or do they want to leave the White House on its own to sort of find those other tools and those other means and plannings that it has to collect the tariffs? And as our guest mentioned, one of the biggest questions right now is whether or not the tariffs that have already been collected, they're going to be preserved, and there's going to be sort of a sense that from now on, these regulations are going to change, or whether or not the Trump administration would have to have a rebate or some kind of refund, and that is just going to turn, I think, international relations with the U.S. into a frenzy. Remember, Canada, has about $78.8 billion, Japan, right, $32.3 billion, Germany, $29.9 billion. I mean, these are, and Brazil and other countries that have a lot of higher tariffs. What's going to happen with everything that's been collected, and also relations with these countries?
Indeed. Speaking of which,
a lot of questions.
Relations with the countries, Susan, I'll just come back to you quickly, getting in these breaking developments coming in about the reactions that are trickling in from around the world. Of course, as anticipated, this is going to be a development that's going to be closely watched. The EU, as of now, saying it is analyzing carefully the US Supreme Court tariff ruling. So as of now, that is the reaction coming in from the European Union. The EU spokesperson saying we continue to advocate for low tariffs and to work towards reducing them. So that as of now is the statement coming in from the EU. Meanwhile, how is the UK government reacting to this? As of now, the government there saying it will work with the US administration to understand how the ruling will affect tariffs for the UK and the rest of the world. It is saying it is going to be working with the US administration to understand how the ruling will affect tariffs for the UK and the rest of the world. So that's the sentiment as of now coming in from the EU, from the UK. Remember, this is a ruling that will fast attract reactions, not just from within the United States, but from around the world. We are, as of now, also getting you this update on how there is still a word awaited officially from the White House, an official word awaited from the White House. But as of now, according to US media, President Trump called the Supreme Court ruling that struck down his tariffs, quote, a disgrace. No official word as of now, just to reiterate, but according to the reports that have been surfacing, the US president, whose reaction will be very closely watched, as of now reportedly calling the Supreme Court ruling that struck down his tariffs, quote unquote, a disgrace. And he reportedly made the comment while hosting the White House breakfast with the governors this morning. So that's a bit of a sense of what things are looking like as far as the administration and their reaction is concerned. Going back across quickly to Susan, there we have it, like we were just discussing. We are going to be closely monitoring the reactions coming in, but as of now, that's the first update on what things are looking like reaction-wise. But speaking of which, Susan, given that the tariffs have been such a core issue when it comes to the sentiment on the ground within the United States as well, both politically and societally, let's just talk about your understanding of what this really means for the people on the ground and their sentiment attached to these moves.
Well, it's very early to assess something like that. Usually this issue fell on party lines, as we heard from the Democratic members of Congress who are celebrating this decision by the U.S. Supreme Court. But when it comes to small businesses, for the majority and for the most part in the past year, they have somewhat tried to adapt to these new policies by the Trump administration. So it sort of leaves them in a limbo. While it is a sigh of relief, short term to an extent, it leaves them in some kind of limbo the longer this takes to resolve and how the Trump administration wants to move forward with this, the longer it takes for small businesses who really can't, absorb the impact of shocks like this to adjust their prices and to understand how they need to deal with consumers. But the way the Trump administration has been touting these tariffs as a sort of something to the benefit of the consumer and to the American people, it's yet to be seen whether or not, there's going to have a short-term effect, and also just sentimentally, whether they're going to see this as a defeat for the White House, not only on tariffs, but its general economic policy. Remember, that perception is extremely important going into the midterms, not to mention on Tuesday, the president has to speak to the nation during his State of the Union address. How is he going to be able to justify this? How is he going to push back on this while usually Supreme Court justices are sitting right in front of him in the halls that he makes those speeches in Congress?
Right, stay with us, Susan. We'll just come back to you. Also, understanding from Mark for his perspectives on the reactions that we just got for our viewers coming in as of now from the UK, the EU. We just played out those statements coming in as of now. Mark, your reaction to how this is going to be playing out geopolitically as of now. Of course, it's preliminary at this stage, but we also have those reactions already trickling in.
Yes, I think everyone across the world will be very happy about that, because it has been a major problem across the world, and the UK government, they have played it very diplomatically towards the White House, so they will not be they will not be happy in a big way, but they will be secretly very happy, and they will, as you were saying before, they will say diplomatic things like, we will see how this plays out and work together with the White House. But behind the scenes, they will be sharing, no doubt. And I think also this is a part of a recalibration process that will also benefit in many ways everyone. And possibly there might even be a silver lining for the US Republicans, even though they are, of course, the big losers of the day. But the silver lining might be that prices might come down in the US. They haven't delivered the promise. The cost of living crisis haven't been really, that remains a big problem. And he probably got the tariff issue quite wrong. So in the long run, they might be able to, this might help even them in a sense. So I think this recalibration process that had been ongoing has turned out, it was a bit stacked unfairly towards the US. I think President Trump was right in that sense, but then he just took it too far in the other way. And what's happening now, there was recalibration and there was a pushback against that, and now we are landing somewhere that actually might benefit the world.
Interesting you say that. We also told our viewers just a short while back, if you were listening in, about the reaction reportedly coming in from the US president, quote unquote, a disgrace. Is what the US president has said. No official word as of now from the White House, but that is as of now what we know. We'll just come back to you. A quick update coming in simultaneous. Of course, these are fast-paced developments trickling in. We also told you about the reaction just coming in from Donald Trump. Now, earlier, he gave the latest word in a series of economic speeches in Georgia and speaking to a crowd of supporters at a steel distributor in Rome. Trump touted a growing stock market, his tariff policy on foreign goods, and increased foreign investment in the U.S. economy. That's the latest coming in at this point. But going back across to Mark, as I was just saying, all right, let's just play this bite out first.
This country would be in such trouble right now. Without tariffs, this country would be like your company was 2 years ago. What a difference it made. And you know who brought the cases against us? People that are China-oriented, people that have business in China that want to rip us off and keep ripping us off, and the tariffs had stopped us.
All right, Mark, we just played out that short statement coming in from Trump. But like I was saying, also reportedly, he's called the court ruling now coming in as a quote-unquote disgrace. Are you surprised at all, first, by that reaction? While, of course, there's been no official word as of now, and we are going to be closely monitoring those developments. But at the same time, what really are the options before Donald Trump as of now, according to you?
Well, he has to play the game now in Congress. And of course, he still has a majority in Congress. So if he's really quick about it before the November election, since it's expected to not go his way in November. If he's really quick about it, he will probably try to be really quick about it to make things happen before the November election. So that I think he will fume and he will say lots of things and he will create smoke screens all over the place. But if he wants to really stop this, he has to use it from now on. He has to go through Congress. So that's what the real battle will be. And I think that's what makes that's a relief for everyone in the sense that now we're returning to normality with the Congress and White House working together before passing laws.
But at the same time, on the ground, this would mean more limbo as a direct result on the ground for businesses as well and for the governments watching these developments.
I think businesses might be quite happy about a bit of limbo. I think people are tiring of all the action from White House all the time. That has also been, he was promising from start that he would create a level playing field and it will be easier in all sorts of ways. But the previous administration had problems because they were perhaps had too many rules and the taxation and all that kind of stuff. And Trump pulled back on that one. But then all his changes all the time has also created instability. So I think in some ways, sometimes when there is a deadlock in Congress, which we are probably returning to fairly soon, businesses have been quite happy because then there's not so much change all the time. So I think, again, nobody will openly say to Trump, you're wrong, because then they might be punished. But I think, again, secretly, many will be happy about this. They will enjoy that he's reined in a bit and still he's not reined in to the degree that the Democrats will take over, but the deadlock might benefit many people.
All right, we're leaving it there for the moment. Thanks very much for joining us on the broadcast, Mark. Also thanking Susan Tehrani for getting us up to speed with the latest developments coming in from the United States. As of now, big developments with far-reaching implications. We'll, of course, keep a close eye on the very latest coming in. But for now, we're switching gears. And shifting focus, but staying on with developments coming in related to the U.S. president. He is building a new force in Gaza, a sweeping, unprecedented security project that could also redefine power, politics and peace in West Asia. And at the center of all of it is a new International Stabilization Force chaired by none other than the self-proclaimed champion of peace, Donald Trump, and led in part by his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. In fact, the force's American commander, Major General Jasper Jeffers, saying the numbers are staggering. Nearly 20,000 soldiers and 12,000 police officers expected to be deployed to Gaza to secure the territory, protect the civilians, and also support the reconstruction on the ground. Let's just play this out for you.
In the short term, we plan to deploy to the Rafah sector first, in addition to the training of police. Midterm objective is to continue to expand sector by sector, all moving to our long-term 12,000 police and 20,000 ISF soldiers.
Egypt and Jordan have agreed to train Palestinian police and security forces. Indonesia offered up to 8,000 troops, nearly half of the total soldiers sought. Morocco has pledged police and officers. Albania, Kazakhstan, Kosovo are sending troops. And in a move that is already stirring controversy, Turkiye is now set to contribute forces as well. Now, the inclusion of Turkiye is irking Israel. Israel's foreign minister had earlier asserted that Turkish troops would have no role in any Gaza force. He cited the president's long-standing hostility towards Israel, but Turkey's participation appearing to be moving forward, adding a whole new layer to the tensions in the already fragile region. Meanwhile, Netanyahu has been unequivocal. He says Hamas will be disarmed one way or the other before any reconstruction of Gaza moves ahead.
If the Ayatollahs make a mistake and attack us, they will receive a response they cannot even imagine.
Now, the disarmament of Hamas is a central condition for Israel, yet it remains unclear whether the ISF would be tasked with enforcing that disarmament or how exactly it would respond if the fighting resumes. This new international force could mark a turning point. It also poses three major implications. First, it has the potential to challenge Israel's long-standing security supremacy over Gaza by introducing a multinational military presence into territory that has been largely shaped by Israeli operations for years now. Second, it could be seen as a bid to deflect Israeli control, shifting security responsibility to an international body. And third, it opens a new chapter in how post-conflict Gaza may be governed with security, policing, and reconstruction being handled by a coalition of countries rather than a single regional power. But then Trump's plan is not just political. It's also physical, tangible in nature. Contracting records reviewed by The Guardian detailing a massive 350-acre military base in southern Gaza. It is reportedly designed to house up to 5,000 personnel. That's what's known right now. But security plans extend beyond soldiers. Reports also indicating the White House has explored forming a new Gaza police force, drawn from the existing anti-Hamas armed clans, some with documented links to organized crime. These family-based groups have been accused in recent months of looting aid trucks, kidnappings, murders. At least two major clans include members who have either fought alongside or declared allegiance to the Islamic State, reportedly. Civilians in Gaza deeply mistrust these groups. Western officials say Britain, France, and other countries involved in discussions have raised serious concerns about the idea. 4 months after a ceasefire brokered with the help of Qatar and Egypt, the future of Gaza remains uncertain. More than 1.9 million Palestinians have been displaced. Questions also persisting over who owns the land where the base would be built. It's also unclear whether Hamas would ever voluntarily disarm. And as President Trump convenes the world leaders in Washington under his Board of Peace, the world is watching to see whether this force becomes a foundation for stability or just another gimmick. US President Donald Trump's self-obsession back in the spotlight. His speech at the inaugural session of the Gaza Peace Board was marked by a lot of self-praise. In fact, he moved from touting his role in ending wars to commenting on individual leaders, even going to the extent of making them stand. Take a look at this report.
Welcome the President of the United States, Donald J. Trump.
Trump's global ambition on display as he hosted representatives from 40 nations for the first meeting of the Gaza Board of Peace. In his 47-minute speech, he regaled the audience with his self-praise, jibes, and personalized remarks on leaders in attendance.
Secretary General in a little while was a good man.
He started off with a lighter moment. While welcoming Azerbaijan President Ilham Aliyev, Trump quipped that he had a difficult name pronouncing the country's name initially, but dubbed it beautiful.
I'm not sure I'm allowed to say that. President Aliyev of Azerbaijan. I love saying that name now, you know. At the beginning, it was giving me a hard time. Now I love saying it. It's a beautiful name.
He also joked about being snubbed for the Nobel Peace Prize and took a swipe at Norway.
I'm excited to announce that Norway has agreed to host an event bringing together the Board of Peace. Oh, I thought when I saw this note, I'm excited to announce that Norway, I thought they were going to say that they're giving me the Nobel Prize. Oh, this is less exciting. Oh, it says, I'm excited to announce that Norway, and I'm saying, oh, great, I'm getting the Nobel Prize, finally. Finally, they got it right. But I don't care. I don't care about Nobel Prize. I care about saving lives, just so you understand. President.
When it came to Bahrain's King Hamad bin Isa Al Khalifa, the U.S. president mentioned his wealth and hence the status.
He's so rich, he can sit there. He can sit wherever the hell he wants. You know, he could sit up in the corner. He could sit up top. He might take a piece of this building, Morocco. He'll take 25% of the building for about $6 billion. So thank you very much.
Next was Indonesian president. He was called a tough guy.
A man that I really like a lot is, he's definitely tough. I don't want to fight him. President Prabowo of Indonesia. Thank you very much. Please, this is a big guy. I tell you, I said, how many people in Indonesia? He said, like 240 million. I said, no, say it again. How many? It's a big country you have. And you do a great job and respected by everybody. And thank you very much for being here. And
Trump loves to take credit of things he may not have done. He doesn't care. He just loves to pat his own back.
Nobody believes it, and that's okay. President Pena of Paraguay is here. President, thank you very much. Young, handsome guy. It's always nice to be young and handsome. Doesn't mean we have to like you. I don't like young, handsome men. Women, I like. Men, no, I don't have any interest.
In the Epstein era, everyone is cautious. But Trump being Trump openly flaunts his fondness.
President, where is President Milei? You're another one, I'll tell you. Where is President Milei? I endorsed him. I'm not supposed to be endorsing people, but I endorse, when I like people, you know, I've had a very good record of endorsing candidates within the United States. But now I endorse foreign leaders, including Viktor Orban, who's here, and others. And I endorse this gentleman, Milei. He was a little behind in the polls. He ended up winning in a landslide. I just endorsed the Prime Minister of Japan. She was in a tight race, but was probably going to win. And she won in the largest number in the history of Japan. So she likes me a lot.
But after the praises and digs came the roast. During the roll call of world leaders, Pakistan PM, who traveled 11,000 km, was made to stand up.
I think you should actually stand. Come, please, stand just for a second. Pakistan and India, thank you very much. And I spoke to Prime Minister Modi. He's excited. He's watching us right now.
And then the Pakistan PM, who is trying to be in good books of the American president, was soon left alone. Welcome to Trumperica, where normal etiquettes and diplomatic parleys are forgotten. Trump loves to loathe about himself, and the people around him can only grin as the U.S. president enjoys the limelight.
Before we go on any further, a quick look at what else is lined up for you on the show tonight. How many U-turns are too many U-turns? We tell you all about how the UK Prime Minister has taken a series of them since taking over. This is coming up. Tensions rising fast in West Asia, Trump issuing Iran with an ultimatum as the US ramps up military presence. In fact, Iran has issued a direct warning to Washington. Any attack will trigger a decisive response. Tehran says US bases and assets across the region are legitimate targets. The messages are blunt. The stakes are increasing. Our next report telling you more.
Flashpoint is forming. Forces are on the move. Commanders on alert. And beneath the diplomatic noise, military muscle is tightening. Iran has delivered one of its toughest warnings yet at the United Nations. Tehran says if the US launches military aggression, it will respond immediately and forcefully. Not just symbolic rhetoric. Real firepower, real intent. This comes as the Pentagon has surged additional assets into West Asia. New US warships, fighter squadrons and missile defense batteries have been deployed across the Gulf. Carrier strike groups are repositioned. Long-range bombers rotate through Allied bases. Every move signaling deterrence, but also preparations for conflict. And the words from the US president are ominous.
Yeah.
Today on Iran, bad things will happen if
Yeah,
Iran
bad
doesn't
things,
make
really
a
bad
deal.
things.
What will that?
I'm not going to talk to you about that.
What is the goal if there is a U.S. military
Well, we're
strike?
going to make a deal, or we're going to get a deal one way or the other.
But with a military strike, is it to wipe out their nuclear program?
I'm not going to talk to you about that, but we're either going to get a deal or it's going to be unfortunate for them.
And you said today's 10 days. Give them a deadline firm to make a deal?
I would think that would be enough time, 10, 15 days, pretty much maximum.
Iran, however, says it will not be deterred. Tehran now openly declares US military bases and assets across the region as legitimate targets in the event of an attack. That extends from airfields in the UAE, Qatar and Bahrain to Iraq and Syria. And Iran's threat isn't limited to ballistic missiles and armed drones. Tehran has quietly built a lethal maritime playbook to unsettle larger navies. Fast attack speedboats swarm in waves, low, agile, hard to track. Mini submarines, sometimes called black holes, lurk silent beneath the waves. Ready to emerge and strike, swarms of torpedo-armed craft can surface in seconds. Mines can choke key waterways. In the narrow waters of the Strait of Hormuz, these forces can appear without warning. Now, two powerful militaries watch each other across a volatile chessboard. One misstep could trigger a cascade no one truly wants. The warning has been sent. The countdown, yet unspoken, continues. Bureau Report, WION World is One.
We now shift our focus to the Russia-Ukraine war, where Ukraine's energy crisis is only intensifying. Even as the Russian missiles and drones continue to strike its energy infrastructure and the blackouts spread across multiple parts. And to make matters worse, two European Union members, Hungary and Slovakia, have stopped diesel deliveries to Ukraine, stemming from a dispute over an oil pipeline that has now led to the European Commission now stepping in, further compounding the crisis that has already left millions of Ukrainians without reliable power during the coldest months. According to Ukraine, overnight, Russia launched an Iskander-M ballistic missile and 128 drones towards the country. The Ukrainian air defenses shot down 107 drones. However, the ballistic missile and 21 attack drones struck as many as 14 locations. At least 9 civilians were injured across the country in these strikes. In Dnipropetrovsk Oblast, 6 people were injured. In Kharkiv Oblast, strikes hit the regional center and 11 other settlements, injuring 2 civilians. While an early morning strike on critical infrastructure in Zaporizhia left up to 41,000 people without electricity. And according to Ukraine's energy ministry, following the attacks on energy infrastructure, power outages continue in Mykolaiv, Sumy, Kharkiv, among other regions. While Russia says overnight attacks by Ukraine killed a man and injured a woman in Sevastopol, Moscow also says its air defenses intercepted and destroyed 149 Ukrainian drones over Russian regions. As the war drags on the diplomatic front, here's what's happening. According to reports, a potential next round of talks may be held next week itself in Geneva. This year's third round of trilateral talks among Russia, the US, Ukraine concluded early this week itself. For the first time, territorial issues were incorporated into the talking agenda, with the US also stating that all parties agreed to continue further dialogue. And while chairing a Security Council session, the Russian president also asked negotiators to report on the Geneva talks. And Ukraine has been experiencing severe blackouts and heating failures due to the sustained Russian attacks on its energy infrastructure. We've been telling you about this. In the southern city of Odessa, residents queuing up for water during the extended power cuts. This is the reaction coming in.
We are experiencing what everyone calls a blackout. Since the 12th, there has been no electricity at all in our house, or rather in 3 houses.
As the strikes continue, Ukraine now faces additional pressure on its fuel supplies. Hungary and Slovakia have halted diesel supplies to Ukraine after an alleged Russian attack on the Druzhba pipeline in Ukrainian territory knocked it out of service. The two countries rely on Russian crude transported through the pipeline and have accused Kiev of deliberately delaying the repairs for political reasons. Hungary and Slovakia have warned they could extend their measures to electricity and gas supplies if the pipeline is not repaired. Just for perspective here, in January, the two countries accounted for more than 60% of Ukraine's electricity imports. The European Commission has convened an emergency oil coordination group meeting scheduled for next Wednesday. With Hungary, Slovakia and Croatia participating, the Commission spokesperson said the meeting will be discussing the impact of the supply disruption and possible alternatives. And as the Russian attacks strain Ukraine's grid and diplomatic tensions with the neighboring countries complicate the fuel flows, Ukraine confronting mounting challenges just to keep its lights on and its economy running. Meanwhile, the British Prime Minister has a growing reputation. His policies are not being talked about. His way of governing is not the story here, not his foreign policies or any of those matters. Rather, this is about mastering the art of changing his mind. In one word, U-turns. In just 19 months in office, you know how many major U-turns Keir Starmer has taken? At least 14 of them, that's the count. 14 reversals on key policies ranging from local elections to pub businesses. In fact, since taking office, he reversed course repeatedly, whether it's under pressure from his own party, opposition parties or public backlash. And at the start of this week, the Prime Minister defended policy U-turns from the winter fuel payment cuts to disability benefit reductions and inheritance tax hikes affecting farmers, and then within 2 hours of that defense, any guesses what he did? Well, a U-turn on his policies. He basically abandoned plans to delay 30 council elections. All 30 elections will go ahead in the month of May as originally planned. His latest reversal has been the swiftest one so far, in fact. It lasted just 25 days. The reversal, the Labour Party said, was made after seeking fresh legal advice amid a challenge mounted by the Reform UK party. But the pattern does not stop there. Last September itself, the UK Prime Minister announced plans for a mandatory digital ID system to verify the right to work in Britain. Opposition parties condemned it. Public support collapsed. Within 109 days, the government diluted the policy. The once compulsory digital ID check is now optional. And then came the pub tax revolt. In her budget presented in November 2025, the UK government's chief financial minister cut the pandemic-era business rate relief for the British pubs from 75% to 40%. And the backlash was immediate. Pub owners protested, Labour MPs faced anger in their constituencies. 43 days later, the Labour government introduced a major U-turn. The political cost of this reversal appears to be mounting as well. In August 2024, 43% of the Britishers said that Starmer was performing badly. That figure now standing at 69%. It's a huge jump. Since 2016, he is the 6th politician to take charge as the country's Prime Minister amid the growing unpopularity and a series of reversals. The immediate question still is Britain heading towards a 7th Prime Minister in less than 10 years?
ये कार्ड गया भी गई है ना, शनाख्ती कार्ड मेरा देख ले, ये भी पाकिस्तान भी मुझे बना के दिया।
Since independence, Pakistan has seen direct army rule for a cumulative period of over 3 decades. Despite being such a powerful state institution, in a way, is the Pakistan army now abandoning its own soldiers to avoid global embarrassment? Recent developments suggesting that this hypothesis is closer to reality. The Balochistan Liberation Front has released a fresh video, the authenticity of which could not be independently verified. In this video, the captive Pakistani soldiers reportedly seen showing their identity documents and berating the army for not taking any steps for their release.
तरह बोल सकती है कि ये हमारे बंदे नहीं है ये कांड की गयार भी गई है ना इन्होंने हमें बना के दिया है ना हमने खुद तो थोड़ा बना लिया ये शनाख्ती कार्ड मेरा देख ले ये भी पाकिस्तान ने मुझे बना के दिया
Last week, the BLA claimed to hold 7 soldiers in its custody. It threatened to execute the soldiers within 7 days unless Islamabad releases Baloch prisoners of war. However, the Pakistan government has not officially reacted to this. And this is not even the first time when Pakistan has maintained a conspicuous silence over the fate of its soldiers. Earlier this week itself, the Taliban handed over 3 Pakistani soldiers to Saudi Arabia. It claimed to have captured them during the border clashes with Pakistan in October last year. However, the Shehbaz Sharif-led government reportedly has not issued any statement on this matter. Now, even as the Balochistan crisis is seen as a byproduct of Pakistan's repressive measures like indiscriminate arrests, enforced disappearances, extrajudicial killings of locals, it seems that the government is not learning from these mistakes. As per the latest report by the Human Rights Commission of Pakistan, Punjab Police's newly constituted Crime Control Department has killed 924 suspects in 670 encounters from April to December last year. And this is more than double the toll as compared to 2024, when 341 suspects were killed in encounters across 2 provinces, Punjab and Sindh. Shockingly enough, 139 of these encounters were reported in Lahore, which is the stronghold of Shehbaz Sharif and his niece and Punjab CM Maryam Nawaz Sharif. The human rights body, in fact, raised doubts about these encounters, citing numerous FIRs which have a strikingly similar version. The sequence of events typically featuring the police intercepting suspects at night or a roadblock. Subsequently, the suspects opened fire first, compelling the police to respond in self-defense. It also claimed that families of the deceased persons were told to bury them immediately after a before a post-mortem could be conducted. Beg your pardon, before a post-mortem could be conducted. Now, it has also demanded a high-level judicial inquiry into these deaths. As Pakistan continues to face scrutiny over its human rights record, the violence in Balochistan is a clear reminder that the internal security situation in the country remains far from satisfactory, to say the least. Imagine a law that tells a man he can beat his wife as long as he does not break her bones or leave open wounds. This is not conjecture. This is the new legal reality under the Taliban in Afghanistan. The Taliban have issued a 60-page penal code and circulated it to courts across the country, reportedly. The code labels spousal violence as a discretionary offense, not a crime. In simple words, a husband can strike his wife or even his children and the state will look the other way, as long as there are no broken bones, no open wounds. And even if a woman proves serious injury, the maximum punishment for the abuser is just 15 days in jail. 15 days. That's the value given to a woman's suffering. And the system makes justice nearly impossible. A woman who wants to complain must appear before a male judge, fully veiled and accompanied by a male guardian. In most cases, that guardian is possibly the very husband who beat her up. How is this even justice? How is this even law? The legal code contains no clear ban on physical, psychological, sexual violence against women. Since returning to power in August 2021, the Taliban have removed the earlier protections for women, including a 2009 law that criminalized forced marriage, rape, and domestic abuse. The crackdown does not even stop there. A woman who flees to her parents' home without her husband's permission, even to escape violence, faces up to 3 months in prison. Her family can be jailed for the same time period for sheltering her. Women cannot show their faces in public. They cannot speak freely to men. They are even warned to not speak loudly inside their own homes. This is institutionalized oppression, written into law. The UK is facing a deer problem like never before, and the government is taking action with numbers estimated at over 2 million deer, causing widespread damage to woodlands, newly planted trees and farm crops, prompting the release of a long-awaited 10-year deer management plan. Under the new strategy, the government will be identifying priority culling areas and make it easier to carry out licensed shooting, including at night and during the closed season. Farmers may also be given new legal rights to shoot deer to protect crops, aiming to reduce damage and economic loss. On estates, in fact, deer numbers have rocketed since COVID-19 lockdowns. Locals describe dealing with smaller species is a horrendous battle, with the local herds causing a lot of damages. Crops like carrots and potatoes are particularly vulnerable, with big red deer even digging potatoes out of the ground. Meat from culled deer is often sold locally or used in schools, providing some economic return. But the plan has drawn criticism from the animal welfare groups, PETA calling culling inhumane and unsustainable, warning that removing deer often leads to increased breeding among surviving animals. They advocate for alternatives like habitat modification, fencing, and limiting access to artificial food sources. Britain is home to 6 deer species. Those names, in fact, only red and roe are truly indigenous. Official estimates also suggest that deer populations have surged from around 450,000 in the 1970s to over 2 million today, the highest numbers in 1,000 years. Now, the impact is also wide-ranging. 1/3 of English woodlands are now classified and is an unfavorable condition due to overgrazing, and more than 74,000 vehicle collisions with deer occur each year, causing fatalities and hundreds of injuries. The government's plan aims to streamline licensing and make it easier for landowners to protect the crops. Officials hope that this focused approach will help stem the damage, protect ecosystems, and ensure that England's woodlands and farmlands can recover. With that, it's a wrap on this edition of Gravitas Tonight. This is me, Molly Gampir, signing off. Thanks very much for watching. Have a good weekend.
As Wuthering Heights makes waves across the world, we look at the many screen adaptations of Emily Bronte's only novel. Know all about the celebrities who have rare organism species named after them. And meet Grammy-winning band Tenari Ben. All this and much more with me, Diksha Bisla, on WION at these times.
And welcome to a brand new edition of South India, a daily dynamic show that will capture the pulse of southern states.
By blending the special stories, the breaking alerts, and the culture developments as well.
On Inside South Asia this week, the new Prime Minister of Bangladesh takes charge. What to expect from Tariq Rahman, we decode. Chronic unemployment forces Nepalese youth to seek job opportunities abroad. Can March 5 polls lead to new avenues? And we take you to Pakistan, where Gen Z is having a new kind of nightlife. All this and much more on Inside South Asia.
India was the cynosure of all eyes this week with the AI Impact Summit. Not content just to be part of the conversation around AI, India wanted to lead the narrative. We'll bring you all the key takeaways and the highlights from the summit. From there, we'll move to real-world impact and look at how AI-powered cameras are keeping an eye on swimmers in Australia. We'll also look at these very, very special ecosystems that are being built in multiple cities around India for developing world models of AI. And finally, we'll see why China is betting big on robotics. That and more in this episode of Tech It Out.
As soon as my cousin stepped outside the house, he was hit by a bullet.
As the US-Iran war looms, Tehran has got only one chance to counter the world's most powerful army. Preparing for a new war with Iran, Israel is escalating Lebanon's strikes to cripple its ally Hezbollah. Israel has issued a new warning to Hamas. The militant group could either disarm or face a new war. Watch the West Asia Post only on WION World is One.
WION, India's global voice, the channel that brings you the biggest stories from across the world through India's lens.